There's a saying among real cops: badges don't make you brave, choices do. Because out here, on quiet roads, under flickering streetlights, the uniform can mean everything, or absolutely nothing. Tonight's story begins in the small town of Greene County, Wisconsin, a place most people would never think twice about. Farmland, quiet neighborhoods, folks who wave when they pass by. But one fall evening, what started as a routine traffic stop turned into a bizarre confrontation that left real deputies asking one question: who the hell is this guy? It was around 10:15 p.m. Two deputies were running radar along a rural highway when a black Dodge Charger came flying down the road. Tinted windows, flashing red and blue lights hidden behind the grille. At first glance, it looked official, like an unmarked law enforcement vehicle on duty. But there was something off. The Charger wasn't in any local or federal database. The plates came back to a private citizen. And the way it was driving, no siren, just lights, felt wrong. So the deputies followed. And within minutes, that chase, calm but cautious, would expose one of the strangest cases of impersonation they'd seen in years. Deputy Morales called it in. Possible unmarked police vehicle, black Charger, flashing lights, northbound on 12. Dispatch responded. Copy that. No active units in that area using unmarked cars. That was enough. The deputies hit their lights, signaling the Charger to pull over. And that's when the real story began. The man behind the wheel looked calm. Too calm. Mid-30s, short beard, tactical vest over a black shirt, pistol on his hip. Before the deputies even spoke, he flashed the gold badge and said, "Federal agent, you just made a big mistake." His tone carried authority, clipped, confident, rehearsed. But something about it didn't sit right. Morales looked at the badge. Heavy, shiny, engraved with Federal Agent, Department of Homeland Security. Except the seal was crooked. The number at the bottom was missing a digit. And the font? It wasn't standard issue. You see, real law enforcement badges are like fingerprints. They're unique, specific, documented. Every line, every engraving, every serial number is tied to an identity, a file, a history. But counterfeit ones, they always have a flaw. Something that slips through, even if the scammer doesn't notice it himself. The deputies asked for ID. The man hesitated, then produced a laminated card with the DHS logo printed in low resolution. It looked more like something from a printer at Staples than a federal credential. Deputy Morales asked again, "Sir, do you have official identification?" The man raised his chin. "I told you, I'm with Homeland. You don't have jurisdiction over me." That's when the deputies knew this wasn't going to be simple. There's a certain type of arrogance that comes with deception, a belief that confidence can substitute for truth. But confidence can't survive scrutiny. As Morales called for backup, the man grew louder, demanding respect, accusing them of harassment, even threatening to call his supervisor in D.C. Except when dispatch asked for his agency credentials over the radio, Homeland Security came back with one short answer: "We have no record of any agent by that name." Within minutes, backup arrived. 3 cruisers surrounded the Charger. The man's demeanor shifted. His voice cracked. His eyes darted. The badge that once shined proudly on his chest now looked cheap under the harsh LED beam of a deputy's flashlight. He started stuttering. "Look, man, it's complicated. I'm not fake. I'm just part-time." That's when they saw it. The badge wasn't even metal. It was plated plastic. And on the back, stuck with cheap adhesive, was an eBay sticker. Yes, a fake badge. bought online. Used to impersonate a federal agent. And for what? A sense of power? A moment of control? The illusion of being somebody in command? As investigators would later discover, this man had spent months building his fake identity. He purchased used police gear on auction sites, body armor, tactical belts, even an old radio that no longer transmitted. He had taken photos of himself in front of police vehicles, edited them with official-looking patches, and posted them on social media with captions like, "Another long night protecting the streets." He wasn't a cop. He wasn't an agent. But online, he was whoever he wanted to be. The truth is, law enforcement impersonation isn't rare anymore. Across America, thousands of fake badges are sold online every year. Some are used for intimidation, some for fraud, and some, like this case, by people who crave the authority they've never earned. According to the Department of Justice, impersonation crimes have risen nearly 30% over the past decade, often tied to mental instability, obsession, or deep insecurity. But numbers can't tell the whole story. When deputies later interviewed the man, he broke down. He said he'd always dreamed of being a cop, but failed the academy twice. He said he wore the badge because it made him feel safe, because for the first time in his life, people listened. And in a world that often ignores quiet men, that feeling can be addictive. In his apartment, investigators found an entire collection of fake law enforcement gear. Folders labeled operations. A badge case filled with laminated IDs for every agency you could think of. ATF, DEA, FBI. And in his closet, a uniform with the word Federal Agent stitched in white across the back. When asked why he did it, he said, "Because I wanted to help. I just didn't know how else." There's something haunting about that. Because behind every impersonator is a person chasing meaning. The same thing real cops risk their lives for every day. But meaning without accountability isn't service. It's fantasy. The deputies handled the situation with restraint. They disarmed him, cuffed him, and sat him on the hood of his fake patrol car. One deputy, older, grayer, looked him in the eye and said, "Son, you could have been shot tonight, all for pretending to be one of us." The man nodded, silent. You could see the weight of it setting in. The realization that the uniform he'd worn for validation was about to strip him of his freedom. He was charged with impersonating a federal officer, carrying a firearm during a felony, and unlawful use of emergency lights. The DA called it one of the most reckless and senseless acts of deception the county had seen. But even as the legal process moved forward, people online were divided. Some saw him as dangerous, a liar who could have caused harm. Others saw a broken man seeking belonging in the only way he knew. And maybe both are true. Because the uniform, it isn't just fabric. It's a symbol of trust, the thread that ties the community to those sworn to protect it. When that symbol is faked, it doesn't just cheapen the badge, it damages the faith that holds society together. One deputy later said in an interview, "We wear these badges so people know they can count on us. When someone pretends, they don't just steal a title, they steal trust." That's the quiet tragedy of it. Because while the fake agent spent months rehearsing authority, real officers spent years earning integrity. Training, trauma, sacrifice. None of that can be bought on eBay. In the weeks after the arrest, life in Greene County returned to normal. The roads quieted again. The nights got colder. But for the deputies who pulled that charger over, the memory stayed. It wasn't about catching a criminal. It was about confronting a mirror. A reminder that anyone can look official, but very few can be accountable. Maybe that's what makes stories like this so haunting. They reveal how fragile perception can be, how easily confidence can masquerade as courage, and how in the end, the truth always outlasts the lie. There's a moment in every cop's life where they realize the badge doesn't protect you. It identifies you. It's a promise, not a shield. And for the man with the fake badge, that promise was broken before it even began. He was sentenced to 2 years in federal prison, released early for good behavior. No one really knows where he is now. Maybe he's trying again in some new town, a new name, a new dream. But every time a deputy stops a suspicious car with flashing lights, they remember that night, the fake agent with the eBay badge. And they remember why they wear theirs. Not for power, not for pride, but for the truth that others try to imitate, but can never replace. In a world full of pretenders, authenticity